Sup guys, Bjorn here. Yesterday, me and my guild finally cleared Guardian of the first one's Mythic, so I figured we'd go through that VOD here and see some of the mistakes I made on my Warlock, some of the improvements we can make, and also just the raid encounter in general, how to deal with all of the mechanics from a raid standpoint, and how to kill the boss basically. Because it is a very easy boss. It's probably one of the easiest Mythic bosses in the entire raid, even though it's the 7th boss in there. And it pretty much only requires you to execute the bomb mechanic, which we're gonna learn about more soon, and then just pump the boss, which is pretty easy, all things considered, when you're talking about a Mythic encounter. Now, when I say it's an easy boss, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's very easy doing the absolute maximum amount of damage on it. As a Demolock, I still had a lot of suboptimal tyrants. I had to cancel a lot of casts. I played pretty poorly overall here, but you also have to consider that I had only seen the boss for about an hour. It was my first prog day on the boss, and I maybe had 10 pulls in general or something on the boss when killing it. So it was a very short progress for me, especially, and even for the whole guild. I think we maybe had a total of 2 hours on the boss. So if you guys want to see more content like this, make sure to leave a like or a comment, and subscribe if you want. But without further ado, let's get straight into the kill VOD. So you can see us starting off on the right side of the platform here. It doesn't really matter which battery you start at, but we decided this one was cool, so we did it. Now, after that, we're just going into a standard Lust on Pool opener here with full Demo Tyrant. Usually you can get in between 7 and 10 imps maybe, depending on how many procs you get on your last opener. I usually just settle for 9, especially if I get the Dog's proc. I instantly know, okay, I can go for 9 imps. If I don't get the Dog's proc, then it's gonna depend a little bit on hands and such, or rather on Demobolt procs, but if you get like 1 or 2 Demobolt procs, you should also be fine. Now, if you get those 3 bombs there that I got on the first set of bombs instead, then you're obviously going to have to end up doing a bit of a suboptimal tyrant there. On Mythic, those bombs have to go on the batteries, right? So you can see our 3 players are spreading evenly across the battery, making sure everyone hits the battery with their bomb. The first soaks are starting to come out here, and you can see us dealing with them in a very nice way here. We just have the immunities of the hunters, the paladins, and the mages to soak all of those soaks with, so that the tanks can actually survive it without spreading any damage onto the raid. How that works is simply just when the soak is coming down, the immunity players pop their immunities, they walk into the soak, and then they soak the tank soak, and then they do the same for the other tank soak, and now both of the tanks have survived, no one has died. Sure, you've lost a few immunities, but the immunities don't really matter on this boss. Here we have the first battery with a meltdown, and you can see me doing a pretty bad tyrant here. I ended up cancelling one hand because I thought I could get out of the beam after completing the hand rather, but I couldn't get out of the beam. And this is another common mistake you make as ranged here. The beam is actually very quick, so you can usually not finish a cast while still moving out of it. You have to move straight away, so don't greed for those casts in the beam, guys. It's usually gonna end up wiping the raid. Something else to keep in mind that I'm doing here every single pull basically is holding soul shape, because if you get these bombs here, as I got for example, then having a soul shape to get there quickly can be really nice, not only for you personally, but for your other teammates who have the other bombs, right? If you instantly blink to that far position of the battery, then the other 2 guys, they're gonna chill, they're gonna understand that, okay, it's fine, we just have to move short, and they're gonna move short, and they're gonna be extremely happy that someone blinked early. If you, on the other hand, start walking late, or if you blink late or anything like that, you can cause some pretty severe issues to the raid otherwise. So I would definitely recommend saving soul shape and using it whenever you get a bomb that you know you're gonna have to take somewhat far. Otherwise, I just tend to settle for the 9 imp tyrants here, because doing more than 9 imp tyrants on this boss, especially when I've only seen it for like an hour, is a little bit wacky, and I don't really want to wipe the raid going for like greedy 11 imp tyrant setups that I can't pull off, especially since I know that we are actually going to kill this boss very easily, right? This is a very simple boss, we have the DPS for it, no one really needs to do anything flashy in order for us to kill this boss. All we've got to do is just do an adequate amount of damage and everyone survive, right? And sure, the difference between a 9 imp Tyrant and a 11 imp one is pretty big, but still, 9 imp Tyrants are more than enough, are going to be more than enough to kill this boss, right? So here you can see another very, very suboptimal Tyrant setup. I do a Soul Rot, Vile Fiend into Walking, into Dogs, into like 8 imps, which is obviously very, very, very bad. I should be able to get at least a 9 imp, probably an 11 imp Tyrant in those situations. If you get the bomb, however, you're obviously going to have to compromise a little bit. But you can also see that even though I've had 1 6 imp, 2 9 imps, and 1 8 imp, that's very, very bad in terms of Tyrants, right? Normally you would want to be at around maybe 2 11 imps and 2 9 imps or something like that. Would be maybe a normal pull. Here I've done quite worse than that, but you can still see that I'm kind of competing at the top of the damage meter. I'm doing a lot of single target damage, and when it comes to the actual mechanics of the fight, well, the bombs are piss easy, the soaks solves themselves, and the other mechanics is basically just healing, which sure, the healing might be a little bit intense in some parts. You can see our healers were kind of pumping here at like 14k HPS, 13k HPS, but in terms of a DPS perspective, very, very simple fight. When the boss is out of batteries here, we're obviously going to get bombs that you can't really move anywhere. If you get those, you just blink out a raid to not kill everyone. And other than that, yeah, you just kind of pump. And as you can see, this boss is extremely simple on Mythic. There are no real damage checks, especially if you already have like a decent amount of raid damage here. You can see we don't even get the first purging protocol before we kill this guy. The first purging protocol is in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and now we kill it. So even with lower DPS than that, we could probably have tanked 1, 2, 3, maybe even 4 protocols there, right? So even if you have lower DPS than this, I don't think the boss is going to be particularly difficult. Obviously, there is still going to be some amount of DPS requirement on this, but if you've cleared Painsmith, if you've cleared the bosses prior, I don't think the DPS is going to be the part you struggle with here. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this little quick walkthrough, and take care. I'll see you in the next video.